Good afternoon, good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty 360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I wanted to welcome you back to another edition of Loyalty Live. In this series, we speak with the leaders in customer channel and brand loyalty about the technology trends and best practices that are impacting the ability of brands to drive unique experiences, engagement, and most importantly, customer loyalty. Today, we had the pleasure of speaking with Aneesh Reddy. He is the co-founder and chief executive officer at Capillary Technologies. Aneesh is actually joining us from Bangalore, India today, so we appreciate him staying up late to chat with us. Aneesh, how are you today?
Mark, thanks for having me here today. All good here. I think the country is slowly getting out of COVID. Cases are dropping, vaccinations running very well, so things looking quite good in this part of the world. Yeah.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at the company, and your background?
Right. I was born in a place called Hyderabad, which is one of these IT centers in India. Both parents are doctors, first generation entrepreneur. Started Capillary about 12 years ago. Really, a couple of years out of undergrad. I'm an engineer by education. Started Capillary. I've been the co-founder CEO for the last 12 years now. We're very lucky to have a great team. Jim and some of the folks on our team very well. So I really work for them. That's really my role, helping things around here. Yep.
Okay, great. One of the things we like to know is get to know the people we interview on a more personal level. So can you share a fun fact about yourself, something you like to do, something you have an interest in? It's always great to know a little more about the people we interview.
Interesting. I think a unique fun fact about me would be, I really spent 4 years of my life out of a suitcase. It was the first 4 years of Capillary. We started off in 2008, and I was 21, 22 then, or 23 probably, and this was just we were just right out of college. So and when we started up, I would keep traveling around cities, trying to meet customers and all that. And so for 4 years, I actually didn't have a house. I didn't stay at hotels. I would just crash with batchmates, or college mates of mine. And that happened for 4 full years, and that was probably the best time of my life as well. So really, literally living out of a suitcase for 4 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. It's good that you're able to do that and establish something that's doing so well in the industry for sure. Can you give us a brief overview of your company, what you do, how you do it, what industries you play in?
Mark, so we've been in the loyalty and customer engagement space. So our product stack is really a consumer data platform on which we run loyalty and customer engagement and a bunch of AI to help with better personalization and better decision making and stuff like that. We've been in Asia for many years now, right? So for the last 5 years, the clear market leaders here, about 400 brands work with us today. We've today presence in about 120,000 offline, online, digital locations. About 600 million end consumers, who are members for one of the programs that we run, across. We probably have about $200 billion of loyalty sales that have passed through the platform in the last many years, right? So, so just to give you an idea of the team, we're about 500 folks across the world, about 15 locations, mostly in Asia. The US is our newest location. We've just set up the US, middle of last year, right? So, and some of the customers we work with are a lot of multinational American brands in Asia. So folks like a 7-Eleven, we work with them in Thailand, a Levi's, a Puma, a Walmart in India works with us. A Starbucks is a customer, Shell is a customer. So a lot of the local conglomerates, the Tatas, the Alpha Thames, etc., in this region also tend to work with us. We also have now 3 customers in the US as well in the last 3 months since we really got a team and started off. So that's kind of a little bit about the company there for you. In terms of what we have as products, Mark, most of the team, about 200 out of the 500 folks, are product development and engineering, right? So, and what we tend to do is give you a integrated suite of a CDP, a loyalty, and campaigns all together. Really do a full job of it very well. What we also do, Mark, is we probably have like amongst the richest data sets on loyalty globally, right? So 600 million consumers, about $200 billion of loyalty sales. So we have a very interesting model around what drives incrementality. So we incrementality from loyalty for a business. And we tend to also consult on that with a lot of customers that we work with.
Okay, great. Yeah, interesting incrementality, as you know, and improving ROI is very important. So it's good to have those data sets and obviously advantageous for you and your organization. Can you define customer loyalty? What does customer loyalty mean to you and your organization, and more importantly, the brands that you work with?
I think loyalty, at least and this is a question that we've thought through many times, right? What does loyalty mean in the first place? And I think I personally do believe that loyalty is essentially subconsciously, if you're able to make a consumer have you as a preferred brand for that category or something, right? So it has to be a subconscious choice. And that's when a consumer really becomes loyal to a brand, right? Or loyal to a program, or loyal to a brand, right? So we don't believe that loyalty is about giving a great offer and making you transact one time, right? So the change has to happen. There has to be an underlying change, right? And that path to once you do that, then you're really jumping the decision cycle that happens in your mind, right? If you want to buy a shirt, you want to say, okay, these are 5 brands. And then I'm going to go and pick one on some criteria, right? So I think there's true loyalty when you can cut that decision cycle through in someone's mind and just go straight to the purchase point, right? So we think loyalty is that, right? So and interestingly, what we believe is that the path to becoming the subconscious choice for a consumer is very different for different consumers, right? Or very different for different customers. For a bunch, it is about great experiences, convenience, personalization, right? For another bunch, it's about how you treat them when something goes south, right? Really, if there's an incident, do you address it well? Can you address it quickly, right? So the third is the set where you're looking for value or additional value that you can get from a brand, right? So so for the organization, at least the way we've thought of this problem, Mark, is helping a brand understand what each consumer might be looking for, right? And helping them get there, and hence change that long-term behavior or become that subconscious preferred service provider or brand from which you want to buy, right? So that's kind of how we think a little bit about loyalty in the firm.
That's good. And I think you're very unique perspective. What is the biggest challenge or opportunity you see in customer loyalty? Obviously, you have large data sets and you've done a lot of work internationally. What do you think the biggest challenge or opportunity is?
Mark, so I think loyalty really started off with transactions, right? I mean, for many years, transactions were probably the only thing you could really capture meaningfully in a in an offline or online type scenario. But so again, I think let me take a step back, right? So I think the biggest challenge is on both sides, right? From a customer side as well as from a business side. Right? So let me touch on the customer side first, and then we can get to the business side as well, right? So from a customer side, look, I think today's customers are way beyond transactions, right? So you don't want to be people want between 2 transactions, what happens is more important for consumers than just what you're doing with transactions, right? So we think that the big shift is actually the tons of data that we're generating today as consumers, and that really helps brands understand us a lot better, right? So rather than, and that's when I think loyalty has to move from a consumer standpoint. I think it has to really move from, doing something when I'm transacting with you to also doing something when, I'm engaging with you, right? So, and we see that quite a bit in, I would say markets like China are way ahead of many other markets, right? In terms of consumerism and technology and some of this. And it's amazing, So we have a bunch of brands in China, the North Face and a few of these international brands, where a lot of the loyalty and engagement there is driven by gamification or what happens between transactions, right? So you're probably going to buy something on the North Face once a year or once in 6 months. But can I engage with you every month or every quarter, even if it is not a transaction? And can that lead to like top of mind recall for you, right? So I think
Right.
from a consumer standpoint, I would say the biggest challenge or opportunity is really, how can you get all this uh, minor data about me, of what I'm doing on your site, what I'm doing in the store, what I bought from you, what did I fill up on the survey, what I clicked in your email, all into one place, and then try and understand me better, right? And today, I think, as I was saying earlier, Mark, I think the thing is more about can I deliver, a very personalized experience to that consumer, right? Can I drive convenience for the consumer, right? So I think that's the big disruption or the opportunity on the consumer side. On the business side, Mark, I think for many years, I think most loyalty programs have been Me Too programs. My competitor launched a program, so I will also launch one, right? So and hand over heart, I think for many years as loyalty companies, as loyalty agencies, none of us have really figured what is the real incremental value of loyalty. And we always hide behind, when a customer asks us that, we hide behind saying, look, there is an increase in transaction value, there's an increase in frequency, there's an increase in this, there's an increase in that, right? So a lot of times we also confuse that with saying, look, we ran so many campaigns and here is the ROI from the campaigns, right? So, and I think the business problem is that, right? Like you folks on the business side who constantly say, look, I don't know what the value of loyalty for me is, right? So, and today I think, you're finally at a place where, thanks to a bunch of this very interesting machine learning technologies, you can answer that question of what value of loyalty really is. And this is something which we've spent the last couple of years trying to figure. The problem with understanding value from loyalty, Mark, is you don't have a control group against which you can see how the loyal group is behaving, right? Because essentially you have to enroll all customers into a program, right? Into a membership program or into a loyalty program. And with AI and machine learning now, what you could do is, for every customer who has benefited from the loyalty program or redeemed either a soft or a hard benefit, you can find a lookalike customer in the pool that's not been influenced by the loyalty program, who've not really got anything from the program, right? And then you can really look at incrementality over the next year or two. And if that's really changed behavior in the consumer who's redeemed or got something from you through the program, right? So, and we call that as value delivery, what's the real value delivery from loyalty, right? So, and that's been very useful in moving businesses to invest more on the loyalty side. Because finally you're able to say, look, here is the actual incremental sales, that loyalty is able to deliver for you. Not campaigns or not some feel-good factor of saying, look, ATV has increased, right? So this is really saying, look, after a point of redemption, over the next 2 years, this consumer has spent 2x more than a similar consumer, a lookalike similar consumer who actually didn't, participate or benefit from the loyalty program, right? So, and we think, and that's one of these machine learning things, right? So this level of complexity you couldn't do earlier with, manual segmentation or things like that. What I also think is a big opportunity, Mark, on the loyalty side for the businesses is, I think with AI and machine learning coming, I think a lot of the current agency model in the loyalty world will die, right? So, and that's because look, today, if a brand wants to run a campaign on, let me target customers who have, done this kind of a behavior, it's a long loop of analysts and people and churning data and coming back and all that stuff. Now with AI and machine learning, that's a few clicks, right? And I think where AI and machine learning is also heading is, I think you will the CRM manager or the brand manager would be told that look, here is the next two things to do for you in your program, or here are the nudges for the consumer and here are the nudges for the brand, right? So I think those really, on the consumer side and the business side, are both challenges and opportunities, if you ask me, on the loyalty front.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think artificial intelligence, machine learning is definitely changing the game to a certain degree. I think there's definitely going to be a role for agencies because marketers still struggle with regard to understanding technologies and being able to do, the things they need to do. But I do definitely think the landscape is changing, especially from a brand perspective, and it's great to hear how you're helping them.
Right.
What is one brand, hopefully yours or another, that you think is doing an exceptional job of creating customer loyalty, and why?
I think I would say I kind of break that bucket into two parts, Mark. So one would be, almost the everyday retail type brands, which is, let's say, a QSR brand like a Starbucks or a fuel station like a Shell. And I think here loyalty is a lot about, convenience and personalization as much as it's about value, right? And I think the real good examples there are probably a Starbucks and a Shell, where they've really married the whole, payments, convenience, personalization, gamification, and the whole experience into a nice single app, right, which delivers everything for you. So it's extremely seamless, very personalized, very, very convenient, right? So I'd put a Shell or a Starbucks right up there, right? So, and then comes, the more very low frequency purchases, right? So, and in that I would actually put someone like a Dyson, right up there for. They've done a pretty neat job of one, making this extremely omnichannel. So if you look at their programs, especially the one they have in China and stuff, whether you bought from their offline store, whether you bought from a Tmall or a Taobao, or from their own website, you're treated similarly across, right? So you could actually earn points in an offline store. They have 100 offline stores in or more in China, and you could really burn those points on Taobao site, right? So it's a very single view. They've also married warranty and some of that very well into the whole program, So I do think they've done a pretty awesome job of again, it's extremely omnichannel, right? So whether you're on WeChat, whether you're on Alipay, whether you're on wherever you are, the program works extremely seamlessly, right? So yeah, so I would kind of name these three, Starbucks, Shell, and Dyson probably as the best programs that I've seen.
That's awesome. What is one piece of advice you would share with brands, with marketers who are looking to improve their customer loyalty or customer experience strategies?
I think okay, let me try and pick one. Or can I take two?
You can take two.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the first is, I think I've seen over the many years I've been in this space, brands try and do a Me Too type program, and it then ends up being I also have a program approach, right? So I think it has to start with really getting all your data together and understanding your customer first, right? So I think it needs to start with that, right? So understand your customers, and then really go and figure what are those three things that different sets of customers want, right? And then launch a program. If you really want to change a program, it has to start with it has to really start with that. The second thing I would say is, this is for the folks who already have a program. Look, I think today, unfortunately, the industry is full of very siloed point solutions, right? So you run loyalty in one place, you get some data, there's a non-member data line somewhere else. Then you take all this data, you send it to an agency, they do some analytics for you, then you get it back, you feed it into a campaign tool, then you do some kind of engagement. And I think the consumer today, doesn't have, is not going to wait for you to go through your cycles of what's happening, right? So, and the over the last 7-8 years, especially with the cloud and machine learning and some of that, I think that cycle has really moved from, a few weeks to a few minutes, right? So if your tech is not nimble today, you throw how many ever people at it, it's not going to help, right? So and that's the thing that I would, again, the second piece of advice would be, I think it's important to, especially in a world where there are a lot of D2C e-commerce first brands, for some of the more traditional companies to survive, it has to start with embracing the world of new tech, right? So yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Obviously, I know you have a lot of clients in the restaurant and hospitality industries. They've really had to pivot during COVID-19, remain agile to be able to, adapt to the changing customer as well as their expectations, as well as just a changing environment. How have you seen COVID impact your clients and brands in general?
I think the COVID is, in a lot of senses, been almost a asteroid hitting the Earth moment, right, for a lot of businesses, and especially when I look at customers across the globe, I think the very strict lockdowns in various countries, I think really knocked the wind out of a lot of the offline first businesses for sure, right? So restaurants, hospitality, travel, non-essential retail, I think are businesses that have got quite badly hit. And Mark, I also believe that some of the change is permanent. If it takes 21 days to get to a permanent behavior, I think COVID has been, like, I don't know, 21 weeks, right, of serious change in behavior, right? So I think hence for a lot of these businesses, whether it's restaurant or non-essential retail or hospitality, I do think that the new normal will probably be 80% or 85% of what it was before COVID, right? So and again, I think the pivot, folks who were a little ahead of the curve on the digital side, have obviously had much more of an advantage. Whether it's been just having digital channels to take orders. Like I can tell you, in some of these markets where messaging apps are a lot more popular, right? Let's say a WeChat or a Line or a WhatsApp, etc. Folks who could really take orders on a WhatsApp and then deliver, or a WeChat and then deliver, have actually, been able to recover a lot faster, right? So I think that's kind of been the learning here, that folks who've been a little ahead of the curve on the digital side have probably had a 10% faster recovery or 20% faster recovery than folks who weren't ready for digital as yet.
Okay. Looking forward 6 months, 1 year, maybe 5 years from now, I think you touched us on a little bit earlier, just with the change in AI and machine learning. How do you think loyalty program strategy, customer experience will be different? How is it going to be?
I think if I were to take a 6 months or a 1 year view, Mark, I would say actually even now, right? There's been a big there is a very strong shift of moving away from just transaction, and that's to more of streaming data, click data, behavior data, marrying all kinds of data together, right? So I do think. And you should, and this is a trend we've been seeing in China for about 3-4 years now. That a lot of social loyalty runs on WeChat. Very game led, very very engagement led. I think that's going to be really the new norm. Probably 6 months, 1 year or so. Then if you, the other question was a 5-year view, right? What do you think will happen in 5 years? I have a small story right on this. So, before we had, the Google Maps or any of the map products that we have today, if you had to go from one city to the other, you'd have this big map, right? And you'd have someone sitting beside you in the car and saying, no, you have to take a left now, you have to take a right now, right? So I think the loyalty world today, from a business standpoint, is kind of like that. You're running a program, you have someone sitting on the side in an agency, or someone who you think is an expert telling you that, look, it'll take me 3 days to come back and tell you what you should do next, what you should do next after that. I do think the pace at which AI and machine learning are progressing, I think in a few years, and we've been doing some of those experiments, we're calling it as a nudge framework, right? How do you nudge a user or the CRM manager? And we think, it'll kind of be like Google Maps. It'll tell you that, look, take right, take left, you don't need to bother much. And I do think in a 5-year view, I think decision making through AI would get to a place where what today happens through very complicated decks and large teams might actually really happen through, very simple UIs straight inside a software, telling a marketer that, look, I think here are possible 3 things for you to do, and here's why we're suggesting it.
Okay.
Right? So, and yeah, so I think a 5-year view would be that, right? So.
Okay, excellent. Definitely evolving quite rapidly for sure. Last question we have is, what can Loyalty 360 do as a trade association for the industry to help others who are focused on customer loyalty, customer experience in their journeys?
I think you folks provide great insights, right? So I think you should definitely continue doing that. The other thing that I think even though we're not in the US, we've been great followers of some of the thought leadership type stuff that you do, getting the industry together, right? So I think there's a lot that we could all learn from each other, right? So as participants in the industry, and yeah, I would say these 3 things, great insights, thought leadership, and bringing the industry together. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Aneesh, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today, staying up so late in Bangalore. So hopefully you get some rest this evening. It was very interesting to hear what you're seeing, especially from a more universal data set and kind of how you're looking at loyalty in other countries, and looking forward to having you more actively involved in the US and hearing more from you throughout 2021.
Thanks, Mark. Take care and have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening.